Hey friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff Ukraine War update for the 21st of July 2026. As the war continues, I'll continue to bring comprehensive news and updates from both sides of the war. It's important to know the perspectives, the incidents, because both sides are going to leave stuff out. They're only going to put their best foot forward. And sometimes the only way to find out about mistakes and failures on our side is to find out from the other side. Because now, there was a massive drone raid in Yatla, and it probably was the largest AI drone deployment to date. But since the 3rd of July, AI drones from both sides have been hunting the battlefield. The Russians have deployed Seeker drones. These are autonomous hunting drones for the last week, and they are responsible for many large-scale drone attacks. Now, Ukraine has engaged in large-scale retaliation for yesterday's attack. Russia has only begun to respond, and however, the attacks do pile up on Odessa, Zaporozhye, this is ProWritingAid, and Kharkiv. Of course, attacks on Kiev are not being reported, but they have allegedly occurred. Now, the situation in Belgrade has been a series of clashes with drones and artillery from both sides. The quiet front here in Lugansk has heated up again. Yeah, Ed. So much for your... I had some clown named Ed, obviously a fake account, tell me that the Ukrainians destroyed 460 pieces of artillery. If that was great, there'd be front page news on... that was true. There'd be front page news, CNN, ABC, BBC, and they'd have pictures. And the Ukrainians would be advancing. You wipe out that much artillery, that's a huge hole. There goes your tank. Send in the tanks. What are they going to respond with? No, there are people out there who are so delusional, right? So eager to troll, okay? They just want to goat me. They want to flex, because these trolls are from other channels, okay? They are afraid because this AI slop, they've been reporting Ukraine this and Ukraine that, but they're losing. They're losing. Now, they have their dedicated fans and they have way bigger audiences than me, but if they weren't coming to troll me, then they're insecure. They know their audience is fickle and is going to leave them because they're lying to their audience. They're making up these battles. Now, sooner or later, it's going to break. And when a line breaks like Koshnikovia, right? When a big battle breaks like Koshnikovia, and we're in the tail end, the mopping up operation, they're going to try and milk every last cent, trying to say, oh, it's not under Russian control. Did I ever say it was fully under Russian control? Did I not say there were Ukrainian infiltrators? They captured a couple yesterday. Did I say Ukraine wasn't ready to let go and the Russians can't advance on Druzhkia until they take care of the Ukrainian saboteurs behind the lines? Yeah. But they don't watch my videos. They look at my thumbnails and make assumptions. And if you make assumptions, you make poor decisions in life. You'll always make poor decisions in life because you don't nail to the truth. You have to stick to the truth. Should never let your morals break one fundamental thing, and that is the truth, right? And now the truth is, when it comes to the residential parts of Lyman, yeah, Russians are all the way through here. The Ukrainians have yet to cede control, but they are coming out of the forest into Lyman to engage with the Russians, and the Russians have not been able to push back the Ukrainian artillery that is harassing them. Now, these artillery clashes are not big. Most of your armed conflicts are not big. Ukraine is a very low-intensity war. That doesn't mean people aren't dying. And, I forgot, glide bomb on Kremovsk. And so the infiltration, so the battles in Koshnikovia will probably go on for some time until the Russians have a decisive attack on Drunivka or flank them out here or break through their lines here or start to put this under threat, then that will rearrange the battlefield. And that is how it's going to go. Ukraine is the pit bull, right? While it receives Western funds, while it receives Western arms and equipment, it thinks it's the hero of its own lunchbox. And so it will engage in attack after attack because those giving the orders are not the ones losing their lives. They're not the ones who are going to suffer any consequence after the war. They get to go on and retire and live off the fat pensions that they wrote for themselves. Yet you'll all complain about CEOs, right? CEOs are not sending tens of thousands of people to their deaths every month. No, governments do that. Governments are the worst thing on the planet right now. Governments, particularly left-wing governments like Zelensky, are the biggest threat to humanity. They send people to their deaths for their own glory. And there's nothing worse than a fanatic seeking glory. Isn't that right, Mandami? Now, Belyaesk is under threat, but it looks like Russia's going to try and flank them. Now, I'm surprised they haven't taken this yet, but, it does depend on manpower. And the Russians only gained a foothold in Moran. Doesn't appear to... But don't forget, they were fighting for months here before the Ukrainians were forced to retreat. So it is no surprise, if looking at how entrenched the Ukrainians are. And again, remember, the Russians are deliberately fighting with less manpower than the Ukrainians. They are holding back 2/3 of their army. They are building stockpiles, engaged in massive air defense works right now. And they are desperately trying to get full production of the Su-57 Checkmate. India does not seem to want to cooperate on this. And the reason why they haven't gone with China is, if you don't know, there was a recent debacle in China in which engines that are supposed to have a 1,000-hour life, which is pretty pathetic, but anyway, didn't even have 100 hours of life. J-15s and J-20s, they're trying to, the Russians have not been able to secure and have been deceived by China on tanks and jets and other critical equipment. Now, if this was internal sabotage by Taiwanese infiltrators and reactionaries, as Hassan Piker, Xi Jinping, Hassan Piker is Xi Jinping's mouthpiece, by the way, paid through Cuban NGOs. This has been exposed. Hassan Piker is a traitor, but there are many traitors in the United States walking around saying, but First Amendment, I got the right. And as soon as they have power, they prosecute you. They don't care about the law or First Amendments or any rights. It's about time you realise you don't have the right to betray your own country. Don't like it? Get out. That's it. Don't like the government? Run for government. But if you lose, don't turn to violence. Yet that's what the left always does, as you see with Ukraine. Now, there have been clashes, and yes, I've reported before that these areas are infiltrated by Russians. Ukraine's decided today, of all days, out of the blue, to actually report clashes with infiltrators behind their lines. And, of course, there's still fighting in here. And they have captured, they captured 64 Russians. That's neither here nor there. This week, now, they're claiming that the Russians go in and plant Russian flags. Yeah, Ukrainians do that too. Backwards and forwards it goes. They all infiltrate each other's lines. They all try to sabotage each other. Anything Russia could do, Ukraine can do, but on a smaller scale. But anytime Ukraine thinks it's going to be clever, Russia will hit them back harder. And I suspect Russia is playing by what they would call proportional response. Why? Well, it's an ideological thing. They want to rub America's nose in it and say, look, you did all this damage to Iran, but we won in Ukraine with less. We bombed them less. We didn't devastate entire cities, although Koshnikova is and Bakhmut and even Kupiansk would say, really? So there's going to be a lot of propaganda over the next 12 months. And particularly about drones. And again, because this month is Autonomous Drone Month. And there are lots of them. Skynet, attack drones. As you can see, Russia and the US, Germany, China, even the Australian, UK, you notice, and New Zealand's missing from that. US arms company, I think it's owned by Boeing. Boeing is the big US partner. Have been testing platforms for units to share data and adjust formations. And if you didn't catch on recently, that large so-called motherships are deploying smaller drones and munitions across the battlefield. And these are stratospheric dirigibles in some cases. Big old... one of the most notable systems to meet its battlefield debut was the Orange Thunder, the Molodaya. These mass drone strike drones from Russia. Ukrainians interceptors. I think the Zerk is the older one, and the Atla is the new. The Atla is the new. It's a drone hunter it's a drone seeker that seeks other drones, airborne targets in one-way attacks. And there is also various autonomous vehicles out there. Now, the HX2 has not been mentioned in battlefield reports yet, but it's a new strike drone. And as you can see, yes, it's an X-Wing, much like Russia's Lancet missile. What a shock, right? Oh, no, we developed it, says Helsing. No, we developed it, says Helsing. Yeah, this is a copy of the Russian Lancet too. Now, autonomous rotorcraft, now Odoriel, meet Skynet. Yes. It does look exactly. I can attack helicopter. On purpose. But it's Skynet, right? Now, both sides are now relying on artificial intelligence to bypass heavy electronic warfare jamming. You have Hornet, Shrike, first-person drones, from Germany with the Orion and Skyfall programs, to massively increase the number of drones in Ukraine. And so far, let's see, they're up to 25% by the looks of it. They want to reach 50,000 strikes a month. Now they're trying to outpace Russia. Now Russia's gone for less drones, bigger strikes. Yeah. Now these drones can only target 20 to 100 kilometers. So you're asking, how do they reach so far into Russia? Like I said, they put them on airships and fly them out there. These airships could circle the globe. Yeah, big aircraft, basically. But they are basically balloons. Big balloons with a aircraft body. And they do have, some do have operators on board. And the debate is how many are authorized by human interaction and how many are TV, what they used to call TV missiles. That is, they take a picture of the target, put it on the computer, and hope the computer gets it right. All right. I have launched a Kickstarter. The Empire Valves official Not Suitable for Work art book is in pre-campaign mode. There's the effervescent Sora, Empress Sora. Showing off her 169 pink diamond tiara. Yes, friends and fans, I am bringing my books to life with art. And the URL will be in the description below. All right. However, there are many commentators now who think Zelensky won't see the end of this year. I have often speculated whether or not they will kill him or remove him. And there are speculations that he's survived multiple assassination attempts. And no, not from Russia. They would gladly blame Russia, but Zelensky's been waging war on corrupt officials, although many call him a hypocrite, saying that he's the king of corruption, only removing the opposition, who's equally corrupt, allegedly. They're all allegedly corrupt. No one's going to court, no one's going to prison. They'll just engage in a murderous campaign against each other. And Zelensky having all the power, particularly the power of particularly being backed by Ukraine's secret intelligence apparatus, which is in partnership with the CIA and the UK intelligence services, and probably infiltrated long before Obama's coup. But this is the 5th straight day of anger in Ukraine over the firing of the defense minister. Now, yesterday said 3rd day. Apparently they made a mistake. And yes, they finally admit this is the 5th day of protests. Now, this is rare. Now, what's really rare is the reporting protests, because they are not rare. But it's rare for protests directly against Zelensky. That is true. It's rare for Ukraine to publish protests. That is true. But protests are not rare. Now, in fact, many Ukrainians believe that Zelensky's removed the defense minister so he could take credit for all the successes of others. That he's removing successful people because his own strategies have failed. But the problem is, will Russia's strategies win is another question. Because if Ukraine doesn't have... This is like Nazi Germany. Now, I hate bringing it up, but Nazi Germany had a couple of brilliant generals. So the British decided, will frame them for treason. And a couple of men went to their deaths, swearing their loyalty. Didn't matter. They got piano wired. And after the war was revealed, yeah, we got you to kill your best generals. Yeah. But the thing is, the defense of Germany plan was disrupted. And because Erwin Rommel was dead, his defense plan couldn't be implemented because nobody understood it. It's the same. You remove Fedorov and then remove his security clearance and then try to kill him. And then when that doesn't work, you try to defame him and jail him for corruption, which isn't working either. Yeah, the defense of Ukraine is not going to go well because you now have people now afraid of their lives, not from the Russian side, but from their own side, looking for promotion. The way to get promoted now in Ukraine, we've seen it now for the last at least 3 years, where you had grenades. Remember the vodka grenade? Vodka bottles that look, the hand grenades made to look like a vodka bottle. Something straight out of Russian intelligence. But no, they were British. Trying to remove obstacles to Zelensky to stay in power. And that is the most dangerous thing. You've had officers kill their senior leadership. You've had units kill their mercenary advisors to collect their paychecks. I think Ukraine is its own worst enemy. And again, they might not be able to defeat Russia, but if they can stall them, make everything costly, bog them down, yes, they will get at least to stop the war. But the problem is, if they keep up these attacks and they start getting more and more effective, it's not going to go the way you think. You saw what Putin did when Russia was pushed hard. They pushed harder and they send in their worst. They don't send in their best, they send in their worst. And they turn a blind eye. So there's going to be no POWs. There's going to be no village left standing in their front in the front lines. Indiscriminate targeting will proceed. You don't want to escalate this war. Yet that's exactly what you think will happen. You think that there are many out there who think this is what needs to happen, and that is a bad thing. You cannot escalate a war against a larger force and expect them to be... Yeah, America decided to pull out of Vietnam not because they couldn't win, it was the price of victory. And if you cannot see that, then I can't help you. Again, Russia's willing to pay that price, because they see this war as an existential threat. That's why I monitor Russian news, to know what they're thinking, to know what they're planning. And right now they're planning a revenge attack. This attack will be repeated. Every attack we've seen on Russia repeated back on Ukraine. And the Russian Speaker of the House has declared that this is a war for Russian freedom, to preserve its existence. If this idea takes hold, you've unleashed the bear. They will destroy Ukraine to create a buffer zone that they cannot stop or lose momentum. Again, this is because Zelensky keeps escalating, because his bravado won't let him do otherwise. His fascist handlers won't let him do otherwise. The war profiteers don't want the war to stop, just like in Vietnam. But this is where the war is taking its dangerous turn. Russia is now saying to its people, hey, they're using Skynet. They're arming robots to hunt us down. This will have so many Russians demanding Putin devastate Ukraine. You're playing into their hands every day. Every day. If you really want glory to Ukraine, go there. Go there and fight for them. Stop urging them on from the sidelines like a ghoul. Is this standard practice? No. This is one of these days where, but there's a little bit of truth in this. That NATO has changed strategy. That NATO, unable to hit successfully, they can damage but not destroy. So they're running out of Ukrainians. Their manpower issues, forced mobilization campaign. So, yes, NATO's changed strategy, and this guy's turned against it because the strategy is to target civilian businesses and destroy the Russian economy. They'll destroy your economy first. Russia's prepared to break. Are you? Are you prepared to have 2/3 of the world isolate you? This is where India is playing right into India's plans, right? BRICS is unstable right now. China's unstable right now. India wants the instability. Now, this is rare. This is a rare footage. This is Kostyakovia. This is what it really looks like. Ukrainian videos show you as it was, not is. That's the only reason why I'm bringing this, so you know. Yeah. Look at that. Bang. That's what a drone strike looks like. As you can see, one Lancet does not destroy a building. So, but here's what happened. Someone comes out of the ruins, dressed as a civilian, finds a drone, conveniently left near his house. Well, whether or not it's his house or not is debatable, but he goes into ruins and up into the rafters. And the Russians send a drone in. There he is in the rafters, in the middle there. It goes inside, see? Finds a way in. There's no way he's living there. But they are hunting the Ukrainians in the ruins. If they pick up a drone, boom. They're saying they're advancing northeast. Yeah, but they're bogged down by mines, bomblets, clearing wreckage, and they are yet to push back Ukrainian artillery on the north side of the city, which keeps half the city at least under bombardment if anything moves. But yeah, Ukrainian infiltrators all the way through, probably about 80 to 100. It's like snipers. They could keep the Russians bogged down for ages. Now the Russians are hammering. One of the weaknesses of any army is fuel, and Russia is trying to deprive the Ukrainian army of fuel to grind them to a halt. Why? Because one of Ukrainians' biggest problems is delivery. Any large truck is targeted, so they have to spread it out which means using up more fuel. So crippling Western fuel supplies, i.e. cutting off Iran. Now you're starting to see a bigger picture now, aren't you? Remember, fuel companies can't store that much fuel, and it costs a fortune to store fuel, so everything's just in time. Huge logistics network. If Russia starts to destroy more fuel than Ukraine is receiving, it starts to slow down their army, starts to slow down. And as you've seen in Ukraine, only the workers have cars, particularly in Kiev. Only the state workers have cars in Kiev. And they've been destroying large supplies of cars parked in car parks outside of cities. Why? Because they're used by the army to move logistics. Before I go, this channel is sponsored by you, the viewing audience. Once you understand that I am trying to bring you the truth, maybe you'll support the channel. This is my hope. Empire Vels at myshopify.com, your one-stop shop for enchanting treasures based on my writing. Please and thank you. I really appreciate your support. I really need your support. I'll see you in the next video. But remember, I appreciate you. I'm trying not to pass a moral judgment on you, but the people who love war. If you love war, go fight it. Go fight it. I've got all the respect for those who fight it. But those who sit on the sidelines and like ghouls urge death and destruction, no. I got no respect for war ghouls. Particularly people who sit on their fat ass all the day, sitting there salivating over videos going, kill the orcs, kill the orcs. Man, I hope, I'm sick of them. Sick and tired of these dumbass, low IQ racists who just want to see dead Russians because somehow their existence hurts their little brain. Russia wasn't. Russia's the size of. Maybe half the. Maybe a third of the continent, but they're not the biggest threat. They're just a bunch of scared people fighting for their survival. Everyone has they've been invaded by the Mongols, and ever since they've been trying to maintain their country from multiple threats. Europe is the one who's threatened them constantly, and Europe is still threatening them. And America should be the adult. I know Europe is supposed to be the adult in the room, but America's got to stand up and say, no, you've got to stop this. You've got to stop threatening other countries. Of course, it plays right into the propaganda. And the Chinese are loving it. And the Indians are loving it as they prepare to be neo-colonial powers. Because they don't have the morality. You can't attack them from a moral standpoint because they think they're superior. You have no idea. I'm trying to enlighten you so you can see that the real problem is India and China, the two wolves who want to fight over the ruins of Western civilization. Because West is destroying itself in the name of some holier-than-thou crusade against capitalism. Instead of rounding up the anti-capitalists and putting them in an education, instead of properly educating our kids and rounding up the dissenters and saying, well, you're free to be a communist on your own gulag or your own little commie patch and see how long you last. All these academics should be put on a work farm. No money, nothing. See how long they can last with their communist crusade when they actually have to do the work. Because that's the only way to break a communist is to put them to work. Because most of them are LARPers who just want the wealth and power that comes with being a commissar. And trust me, there's a lot of money in the left. Oh, look at Clooney, billionaire from fundraising. So I appreciate each and every one of you who's made it this far. Thank you. See you in the next video, and bye for now.